This next section is on automating your profit. Our last section was about automating your accounting, and this one's on automating your profit. I'm really excited about this one. And I love automation, as you know, and there's nothing more exciting than being able to automate your profit. We've really talked up until this point about your past financials, the reports, the entries, all of that happens after you actually make a purchase, after actually something happens. What we'd like to talk about is your current financials. What happens if something comes in right now today? What do you do with it? So that's really what I want to talk about in automating your profit. So the first thing though, before we go into that, is your profit really unlocks your why. So this is more on the mindset of your why, or why ever you are in business or whatnot, is really predicated on you being a healthy company, on you actually being a company that produces profit, that is healthy, that actually is accomplishing its mission. And you can't do that without actually having your profit in your bank account, or without being a profitable business, because otherwise you're probably running around like a chicken with its head cut off. You're probably not focused on the things that you need to be focused on. So really, your profit unlocks your why, because then if you're not focused on your profitability, you're probably stressed out, you probably don't have the focus that you need on the things you really need to focus on. So why did you start your business? I bet it wasn't to have a cash-eating monster that it may be right now. I bet it wasn't to be focused on all the expenses that you have going out the door. I bet it was for a specific reason. Maybe it was just to make money, or maybe it was to actually fulfill a bigger purpose. And so that profit really unlocks your why, but why did you start your business? That is going to see if you can weather a big storm in the future, and whether you will be able to be motivated to keep going. So why did you start your business? Another thing, you need a system for every dollar that comes into your business. This is really, really important, because for every dollar that comes into your bank account, you need to have it be a system just like everything else. I've said systems and processes. You've heard me say that this whole course. And I want to tell you that you need a system for your finances too. We talked a little bit about it with the automating your accounting, but as far as like every dollar that comes into your bank account, it is so important. You're out there working hard, getting that money into your bank account, that it'd be silly not to have a system to actually manage those finances. Because like I said at the beginning, it's like a bucket, filling up a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You don't have it to where you can actually keep that to be able to go out and spend more and be able to make more and be able to have that whole cycle over again. So you really don't want to just going out the door not knowing where it's going. So you need a system for your finances. So I'm going to be talking about paying yourself first applied to business. I don't know, you may have read The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason years and years and years ago. He wrote that book, and in that first chapter of his book, he talks about paying yourself first. His very first chapter is you need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. That's why it's great if you're a real estate investor, or if you're a want to be a real estate investor and you're jumping into it, this is a great way to just start thinking right out of the gate, or wherever you are right now. Because if you're a W-2 employee, you usually have to take the taxes are taken right out of your paycheck. There's no getting around it. They take it right out. Well, you're not paying yourself first. The government gets paid first and foremost. As a business owner, though, you have the unique opportunity to be able to pay yourself first, and then everything else comes after that. So that I really enjoyed that book. But then becoming an entrepreneur years ago, it really clicked that I can pay myself first. I can allocate it to these different accounts. I can make sure that I'm healthy, so that the other people around me are healthy, and so that I can accomplish my why without being stressed and running around like a crazy person. So I really wanted to make sure pay yourself applied to business, that we get that point across. If you're a real estate investor, you've probably heard the name Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And in one of his books, it wasn't Rich Dad Poor Dad, but another one, he talks about actually spending money that he made sure that he paid himself first, even before he spent other money that he needed to spend. So he would pay himself first before bills were due. And it's not like I'm recommending you don't ever pay your bills. This was just the mindset that he got himself into. And it's a radical shift for a lot of people, saying, what in the world? I'm going to pay myself first before I even pay bills? How in the world can I do that? I can't have my business run like that. I would challenge that and say, can you think of a different way to pay yourself first? Now, I'm not talking about making yourself unhealthy or not actually paying on your obligations. I'm just saying shift your mindset to being able to pay yourself first. So it's story time again. How many, if you're sitting there across on that screen, how many of you have had a friend, or maybe you were this friend in high school, that you went out and bought a car. You got this car in high school, but then you also had to go out and get a job to pay for that car. And so as a high schooler, you're kind of already running in that rat race because now you're going to work to pay for the car that you bought. So now you're in the car going to the work, and now it's just a vicious cycle over and over and over again. That's where a lot of business owners are, especially real estate investors. You think, okay, I have this business, so I need to feed this business in order to just go in this loop where I feed this business, and then it feeds me, but then it barely feeds me, and it's just this vicious rat race, and you're never getting ahead, and you don't know if you're profitable, and even if you are profitable, you're not that profitable, or you don't have a system for your finances, so you just keep running in circles and circles and circles, working 12, 14, 16-hour days, long days, thinking that you're getting ahead, but in reality, you're not really putting a system to everything around you, especially your finances. So I just don't want you to be like a typical high schooler who goes out, gets that car, and then maybe has to go get that job in order to pay for the car, and they've already started the rat race for the rest of their life. So I just want to caution you of that inside of your own business too. So pay yourself first. I take this straight from the Profit First book. I'm a Profit First professional certified with Mike Michalowicz, the author of the Profit First book. And in that book, the broken formula, the regular formula you hear for profit is sales minus your expenses equals your profit. That probably makes sense to a lot of people. It makes sense to me. Well, shouldn't it be typical where it's your sales minus what you spend, and then the rest of it left over is profit? Well, he challenges, and I'm going to challenge you to shift your mindset from sales minus your profit equals your expenses. Just that small tweak in thinking from now I'm going to make revenue, it's going to come in, and before I pay any of my bills, I'm going to make sure I pay myself first, and I make sure that the company's healthy. So, number one, you're paying yourself first, and then if you have any money left over, then it goes towards expenses. And you say, well, I've got so many expenses, I can never do that. First of all, if you have that many expenses, you probably need to take a look at your expenses. Secondly, if you actually are in that position, you don't have to start at taking 10%, 20% profitability and stocking it away. Take 0.5%, 0.1%, 1% as profit, just something so you get in the habit of paying yourself first. And that's what I was saying. Profit First, this book, Mike Michalowicz was a huge catalyst in me, that where I read this book and I said, I know that I could do this in my business. I know I could implement this in others and help people with a current system for their finances. Because if you use Profit First in your business, you're going to be able to see a lot better where you actually stand inside of your business. So number one, you need to have a plan for your finances. I like Profit First. Profit First is all based on percentages. So I percentize every single dollar that comes in. I make sure that that's allocated over a percentage across the different accounts that I've set up. So Profit First really teaches you that you're using bank balance accounting, and I'll go over that in my next slide. But most businesses don't even have a plan when it comes to their finances. So number one, you need to have that plan, and that's kind of why I'm here. I'm kind of here to tell you, here's a plan that you could use to start off with. Because that leads me to number two, bank balance accounting, where how many of you right there that you're watching this, you have, while we're watching this, checked your bank balances? Or maybe you're doing it right now, or maybe you did it before this call, or you planned on doing it after this presentation or this specific course. If you are an entrepreneur, or you're a business owner or a real estate investor, and you're watching this, you've probably checked your bank account within the last 24 hours. And if you're really disciplined, maybe you haven't done it for the last couple days or the last week, but you check it on a pretty regular basis. And you say, money's in the account, I'm doing really well. Money's not in the account, what are we doing? Well, how are we generating sales? Where's the money coming from? Profit First and this system for managing your finances takes a lot of that headache out and a lot of the not knowing, because you know if money's in there, you feel good. If there's not money in there, you feel bad, but you have no idea if that money's actually yours. You don't know if that's profit that you can actually spend, or if that's just financing, or if that's this or that or the other thing. So bank balance accounting really helps you know that, hey, at the end of the day, I know in this account I have this much, or in this account I have that much, and I'll go into that in a little bit more. But the Profit First accounts that you're supposed to set up, and that is very, very effective in knowing where all of your money is, it's right here. These 6 accounts, it's really the first 5. The 6th one I add for real estate investors specifically, but it's income. So anything that's income goes into that account. Number 2, profit. This is where you set up a profit account and you make sure that a portion of everything that comes into that income account is actually allocated to profit first, so that way you know you're a profitable company. And then as the quarters progress, you're going to drive that profitability to be more and more and more. Number 3, an owner's compensation, where you actually know how much are you getting paid, and is there money in that account to pay yourself, and are you going to be taken care of? Operating expenses, this is the big one. This is the one where this is the expenses of your company. Do you have money in there to cover your expenses? Number 5, taxes. That's another account to set up. How many of you would like to be able to look at the tax account? Now it's September. It might be, let's say, September 2020, and you've done this for almost a year now, and you've been looking at this and socking away money in this tax account, and it comes September of next year because you know that you've probably been pushing back your taxes until the very last possible deadline. So now it's time to actually give money for 2019, and you have to pay that money, but you've been socking away for taxes the whole year off every dollar of income that's come in. Don't you think you'd be a little bit less stressed knowing that you had taxes socked away for a whole year or however long you start this process to be able to pay the taxes that you owe? Now, if you're a real estate investor and you're taking all the depreciation and you don't have much tax to actually have to save away, I commend you. But if you are wholesaling or doing fix and flips and you know you're going to have a lot of taxes due at the end of the year, how great would it be if every single property that you sold, all of that income was apportioned to these different accounts, to the income, profit, owner's compensation, operating expenses, and taxes. So yes, is it going to take some work? It's going to take you physically walking to the bank or calling your banker or online, opening up several accounts, naming them these, setting up an allocation. Like if you do this once a week where you allocate it, this is where a good bookkeeper comes in because they can do all of this for you, because I want to automate your profit, not have you doing this. But if you're a solopreneur, pick once or twice a month or once a week to do your allocations, because if you get paid on a property, make sure that you allocate that across these accounts. So that way, this is just to help your peace of mind. Not only that, but to help your profitability, to say, I'm socking away this money, I know in my profit account I have this, and whatever's left over, I can spend on my owner's compensation, my operating expenses, and those other things, and make sure my business fits that. Now, I give a number 6 account that you should also set up at your bank. I call it OPM, or other people's money. So you've probably heard of that before. So let's just say you get a loan on a property. You get a loan for a property, and you're going to fix that property up. You should probably stock that money away in a totally separate account than your operating expenses and your anything that's tied to your business. So you can say, for my repairs, I'm just going to pull out of this account, because once that money runs out, you now know you're over budget, or you now know that if you're pulling from your other accounts, that you are now having to pull from your own money to cover the repairs and the budgets that you have put for the repairs of other properties. Let's just say you have a ton of other properties though, and you say, in my other people's money account, I have it, there's so many properties that I do that I'll never really run out of money there. Good. But that's where a good bookkeeper comes in to keep your finances, to say how much do we have per property. So in a recent video, or in a video 1 or 2 past where I talked about practically knowing your numbers, you can go on there and see how the breakdown of a property and over the lifetime of the property and what you're spending on that property. So if you have a lot of properties you're running through, you will need accounting software behind it. If you're not doing a lot of properties, this other people's money account, you can always see that to see if you're using your own money to fund the deals because you didn't get enough of a loan or you're going over budget. Then you can really see at a glance, am I a healthy company? Am I not healthy? Am I stealing from these other accounts? Because if you're stealing from other accounts, you know you have a problem. So that's why I love this system. This is to track your current finances, because that income account is nothing but a pass-through account, meaning the income comes into that first account, and then on a specific day of the week or a specific day of the month or twice a month, you allocate from that income account to all those other accounts. So that way you can have peace of mind to know that you can pay for the things that as they come up, and you're a profitable company. This is another thing taught in Profit First, and that I'd like to teach you: targeted allocated percentages. So you say, okay, you said percentages, but what percentages? So these are targets, meaning you probably won't be able to just go out there, unless you're a new company and starting this for the first time, you might be able to get close to this. But you see in the different columns, A, B, C, D, E, and F are, and in that first row, it's the real revenue range, meaning what are you really making? So it's like your top line, your revenue, minus your cost of goods. Like if you sold a property, it would be your gross property profit, meaning like you sold it for 150,000, but you're into it 110. Your real profit on that property is 40 grand. So you're taking that number, like what is your gross? We'll call it gross profit, even though there's some that goes into that. But your real revenue, what are you making? If you're between 0 and 250, you're in that column A, all the way up if you're making 10 to 50 million in column F. These are the just target allocated percentages or the target percentages for those different size companies that you can see in column A. For the profit account, you want to have at least 5% of every income dollar going to that account as a target. That doesn't mean out of the gate. That just means as a healthy company, if you're in that column A, that's where you want to end up to be a healthy company. Your owners pay 50%, tax 15%, and operating expenses 30%. And a lot of you might say, well, I've got this, that, or the other thing. There's no way we could do this. That's why these are just targets. These are where you can eventually get to if you're healthy. And if you say, I can never get to that, first I want to challenge your thinking, because if you say you can't, then there's probably other areas of your life that you're saying you can't too. But then not just that, not just your thinking, but where you can actually say, okay, how can I realistically do this? What can I do today to allocate across these different accounts so that way I know, okay, I have this in my operating expenses. I know I'm socking away this for tax, because a lot of times people say 15%, is that enough as a fix and flipper or as a wholesaler? Well, that tax is really after all of your other expenses that go into your income. So 15% on average is probably okay to sock away, but that's why you do this for a quarter. You adjust, you see where you are after a quarter, and then you adjust up or down in these percentages. If you say, I'm going to try and do 1% of profit for the next 3 months over this quarter, we'll see, were you able to actually do that in a quarter's time? And if you were, can you bump that up to 2%? So can you do what is actually realistic for you? So these are just targeted allocated percentages. These are targets for you to be able to see where you are and then actually see, can I allocate them across these different accounts? So an example assessment, saying all of that, how can I actually assess my business? Well, this is how you can actually assess it. I'm actually going to give you access to a spreadsheet where you can run your own assessment as a bonus here. But to actually run an assessment, you want to see what is your top line revenue minus your materials and subs. So, and I get into this, and I'm not going to go as in-depth as Mike Michalowicz does, the author of Profit First. But if you have your top line revenue, so like your house sale, your income, that whole top line, minus your materials, subs, and what you're into the property, like that house purchase COGS account on that other video, and the interest COGS, anything that goes into selling a property. So minus any materials or subcontractors, that gives you your real revenue number. In this example, it was a company that didn't have really materials and subs, wasn't a real estate company, so they just had 1.2 in top line. Their real revenue then was 1.2, so they fit into into column D, would have been if you see there, that's between 1 million to 5 million for a revenue range. So that's kind of the targeted allocated percentages that they're looking at doing. So then on the assessment, you can see the actual thing, that column that says actual, they made 1.2. In the profit account, they socked away 5 grand. In the owner's pay, it was 190, and the tax 95, and operating expenses were 943,000. So when they ran the assessment, that the profit first percentages should have been 10, 10, 15, and 65. But the actual profit first and the profit first dollar should have been 123,000, 123,000, 184,900, and then 801,450 for the operating. So you see, that's what the percentages should have been, and the money should have been for the 1.2 if they were a healthy company. But their actuals were 118,000 off in profit, meaning they didn't sock away enough in profit, and they need to increase it. So there's that fixed column. For the owner's pay, they should have paid themselves they had a discrepancy of $67,000, so they really should have paid themselves. They paid themselves too much, so they paid themselves $190,000 when it really should have been $123 based on this on the assessment. And then their tax, they didn't save enough in taxes, so they need to increase that. And their operating expenses were too high by $141,000, so they need to decrease it. The beautiful thing is, how many of you would love to just be able to look at your company to see where you are? Don't get discouraged by, oh, we're nowhere near the percentages. The first step is just seeing where you are. Because if you have a company like this and you can take an assessment, you can see kind of where you end up. Did you have any profit? Do you have owner's pay? Did you pay yourself? Did you save away for any taxes? Do you have operating? What were your operating expenses? So just running this assessment, first of all, is a huge benefit just to see where you are. The second thing is, can you measure up to the percentages that are given in the book? And can you measure up to those percentages? And can you actually start something right away to where you could actually move towards those percentages? So I want to give you this. This is a bonus. This is where I give you a Profit First template, where as a Profit First professional, I can give you access to this, where you can plug in your own numbers. You can go there. You have view-only access, so you need to make a copy of this spreadsheet. So you'll go to it. You'll be able to make a copy, and then it's yours to keep, and you can run an assessment on your business. If you need help running an assessment, you can always reach out at simplecfosolutions.com and reach out there. But if you want to have your own Profit First template, you can go to this web address here, and that will give you access to that Profit First template and assessment, so you can run it on your own business. So I wanted to give that away too. So now, after all that, you need to implement your plan for your finances. So number one, you need to set up those bank accounts. Go out and do that right away so you can get those accounts set up, so you can start your plan and you can actually start executing. Run the assessment on your business. So you can actually sit down and say, and this is like, there is a formula like I showed you, those four or five accounts. Where's everything coming in? And can you look at your books and say, since we've already gone over looking at your reports, you're going to be taking some of this stuff from the balance sheet, some of it from the profit and loss, and say, okay, where is all my money being allocated right now currently? So run that assessment on your business. If you need help, you can always reach out. Determine your current percentages and your targeted allocated percentages. So determine where you are right now. What percentage are you at currently? So for that business, that example business in the assessment, they weren't at the actual percentages given in Profit First. They were actually at a different percentage. So where are you currently in your percentages? Figure out your distribution plan for the quarter, meaning as it comes, not just for you personally, but for the company. When it comes into the income account, what day of the week or what day of the month are you going to actually allocate it across the other accounts? Have a plan for each quarter to get closer to your targeted allocated percentages, and run that assessment again after a quarter to see where did you end up. Now that you've put a plan in place to allocate the money across it and you've been distributing across those accounts, now at the end of that quarter, do you have a plan in place to say, okay, here's where we ended, here's another plan to go for the next quarter, and that's where you can really become striving for yourself to become a profitable company, because now you're looking at it from a true business owner's perspective, and you can automate a lot of your profitability. I love this saying, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. It really does. Are you beating your head or are you beating your chest? I mean, do you want to be able to beat your chest and say, I know my profit, I know that we are doing well, I know that I can automate a lot of my profitability, I know that even if you're a new business owner just going into the real estate world, this gives you an edge up saying, I can start off from where I am now. Or even if you're 10 years down the road and you say, well, I've got so many things going on, wouldn't it be great to have someone look at your finances and say, here's an assessment where you currently are. Here's how we can put a plan in place to move your company forward and to get yourself profitable, not only to see if you've been profit in the past, but how we can make sure every dollar has a system for it. Like I said, I am huge on systems, and just like you need systems for your marketing, sales, and operations, you need a system for every dollar that comes into your company. Is someone on your team focused on your profit? Do you have someone that is focused on this, that could tell you, hey, we're not doing as well here or here, and we need to make some decisions on what to do. We either need to ramp up our marketing so we could get more deals in the door, or we need to cut some expenses here or there. So is someone on your team actually focused on your profit? So that's where I come in, where I want to help you. If you get the book, a lot of good tips in there. But then from this course too, that's where I'm wanting to help you here, where it just gives you this overview and gives you some actual practical steps to see, are you a profitable business take that assessment, use that profitability template, that Profit First template that I give you, and make sure you are actually a profitable company. If you want the book, you can go to Amazon, and it's there on Amazon. You can go to that link, and that gives you the link to the Amazon for purchasing the book. And like I said, that book is just another extension here to get you more diving into your profitability and automating your profit. I'm David Richter, the Simple CFO, and I'm really looking forward to our next course.